It looks like this. I don't know. She's gonna be fun with that. Oh, my goodness. She does. I know. So I wonder. Yes, yeah.
Good evening. Happy Sunday.
I mean, I don't know what they look.
Welcome to our, it is Sunday. Welcome to our third night of full residency readings. Tonight, we have featured Lamar Wilson and Katerina Canyon, who has successfully defended her. Joining them will be our thesis readers, our residency readers, Tomia Jones and Lisa Bevevino. Again, I'll ask each of our folks to introduce themselves.
Good evening. I'm Tomia. I am from Port Gibson, Mississippi. I'm a teacher and a poet. Today I have a few poems that I want to share with you all. Hope you enjoy. Camille, Claiborne County, Mississippi, 1969. Nana said she came through sweeping all of God's work away. She came through stirring up commotion. Papa said she slung the door open, walked right in and made herself a plate. She ate and got full before she stormed away. She didn't say a word, just left behind the remnants of her late mama Betsy, who passed years before her unwelcome visit. Homes and lives destroyed. In her wrath, a daughter's plea for salvation. By the creek. We feel the warmth of the stadium lights and Uncle Johnelle's pen and Grandma Bessie's cafe. We cry over the blues that sings for lovers' drunk kisses, that aches for tombstones that sink down in the Mississippi dirt. The creek in the pasture on sacred land has held generations of ancestors that gather here to dance in the sky, to breathe the cool Russum air, to live again. By the creek in the blessed pasture, we mourn, speak to God, and then listen patiently for his answer. Black is beaten shades of purple, the color of Rose and Jericho. Pawpaw's stout stature that chased me in the garden before he died. Granny's lump that surgeons extracted from her breast. Mama's heart, twice as small when she gave birth to the twins. My sister's screams when we sat front row at my baby brother's funeral. Our skin complexion when white people point and stare in Target. How I felt when I broke up with my ex. How my body winced when he touched me without consent. The dirt, the sweat, cutting scars on my thighs, burns on my arms, scabs I pick away, darts aimed at my head when I want to die, dark shades of blue like black boys in July, how I feel when I sit at home and cry. People watching. An old man whistles when I pass him at Shoppers Value in the produce section. A Black couple argues over who left dishes in the sink in the night before and did not take out the trash. A white little girl with pigtails cries when her mom refuses to buy her ice cream. A Black mother scolds her children for asking to get a Roblox gift card. A Black dad carries his son around his neck as they navigate the toy aisle. 3 studs with locks pass by, looking me down, and one smells like faint Dior Sauvage. 2 women share giggles over coffee, speaking about college. Zeta Phi Beta sorors throw up the pinky when they notice my lanyard. Abuelas hold a grocery list looking for the best limes. Teachers grab Easter items for their students. White people perk their lips when I squeeze by. I do the same. Black people nod when they see me. I salute back. Workers stock the shelves and huff on tired feet. And I am alone, watching this world all alone. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Bevevino. I originally come from Pittsburgh and now from Morris, Minnesota, on the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe and Dakota. The following are 5 free verse and prose poems from a chapbook I wrote in Lamar Wilson's class in the fall. They're about worries I have as a parent, about my children, and all those in my communities as the world keeps throwing itself at us. One of my poems has a line meant to be sung, and I'm going to do my best to relax my muscles and breathe to hit notes anyone might want to hear. See if it comes out sung or spoken. 9th grade breakfast. I ate half a grapefruit and brushed my teeth. I didn't know how to care about the students in Colorado. By then, it had been a full day for their parents when my mother told me at breakfast what she'd just read in the newspaper. Last night, she'd scalpeled half segments of the grapefruit that came from 1,000 miles in another direction. Left them sitting in juicy pockets in my white bowl. I turned on only reruns last night to drown out slurred fighting with wiggling noses and doorknobs. Now I dig the fruit up with serrated spoons for my own children I snuggle to sleep at night. Children I have to leave at a school. Then I was brushing bitter citrus with mint from my teeth. I'm in the mirror. Death by guns in a library is as odd and quickly normal as the volcanic stone in my mouth. Cow eyes. My husband's grandfather tried to smooth a wrinkle in thin acetate over a black and white photograph the last summer we saw him to tell him about his great-grandchild on the way. Edges pinked into points, bent under his dry fingers on a man and his brother who stood solemn, still for the long exposure that hit the silver crystals on the negative. His father knew their solemnity that was born on a warm January morning in 1888 that turned to freezing below freezing below freezing. Wind blew white walls of snow until no one could see their feet, wood, doorstep. Fires died for 3 days. The white newspapers said 235 people died. All the children died. Adults' feet froze, later cut off. -20 is when contacts freeze off your eyeballs as you walk through perfectly clear winter air. When your exposed nostrils grow hard at the second intake of breath. When your skin is cut by sharp flakes blown at it. Tears glassed the grandfather's eyes, even though he did not know these children as children, and he did not know anyone who had died 35 years before he was born. He knew being a child in a cold one-room house. He died that October 2013, his funeral a week before my husband wanted to go into the Black Hills where the blizzard had also been 125 years earlier. He drove my 8-month pregnant belly and always full bladder past remnants of that fall's blizzard. And like then, the black Angus cows lay dead, black fur still glistening in the fields. Their necks twisted up at the sky so that they could breathe through snow where they had fallen. Drifts kept them half frozen while the other half jumped and buzzed with flies. Their eyes looked at us as we drove by. Look at us. Look. Bury us. No one could get them. No one huddled them together against a windbreak of trees before the weather changed. The newspaper had told us fall colors explode. Black Hills blizzard claims 70,000 cattle. Everyone still drives for the leaves this hot 2025 October, not yet changed from green, because their descent usually looks like flames blowing, ready over a decade ago to burn the carnage of the pre-winter slaughter. Tallies, 2020. Jersey City, Miami, Columbus, Belmont, Overland Park, Mobile, Lithonia, Prairie View, Humboldt, Baltimore, Seaside, Kansas City, Rio Rancho, Arapahoe County, Montgomery, Cheyenne, Mission, Grambling, Blounteville, Holmes County, Prescott, Flint, Texas City, Poway, Charlotte, Eugene, Highlands Ranch, Savannah, Chicago, Jacksonville, Flint, Anchorage, Montgomery, Los Angeles, Toledo, Mobile, Pittsburgh, Manhattan, Newport News, Fort Worth, Philadelphia, Richmond, Nashville, Santa Rosa, Hazleton, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Santa Clarita, Pleasantville, Chicago, Union City, Salmon Creek, Oshkosh, Jackson, Kansas City, New Haven, Naples. Did you even see these little school shootings in your feed? The dead did. The ones who heard the shots did. The first day we didn't have to send our daughter to kindergarten during America's lockdown was the first day I didn't briefly imagine her. No, I won't say all I imagined each day as I heard the school front door gently slam against the wind, the way my stomach gently slammed itself calm. The victim of what happens at a school where one door gets left open, where one former student visits, where one student packs one extra thing in a backpack. We watch tallies of virus deaths climb in columns on screens and breathe deeply about our one alive child each day. 40, choreography. Life is only just beginning, but I hear myself as my peanut butter and jam sticky hands pack lunches every single morning singing, one sweet morning when this life is over, I'll fly away. When backpacks lumber back into the house, voices ask for snacks and fingers crumble crackers. I forget sharks are more than drawings on melamine plates until zippers buzz open through torn paper corners and school choreography means sitting is only possible when the standard issue laptop is in hand. Butts hit seats. Keys like teeth pull fingers. Eyes glaze and stare at homework games they are told are good for them. Hinged black rectangles block blank faces. And then I yell. They should hang up their bags, their coats, pick up their shoes. 38, 39, 40, 41. When you're pregnant and your middle starts to grow, so you can't bend in any way sexy like what got you in this shape, you start to stop hating this thick board that ruins your profile of trimmer waist after bust before thigh. So when you expand again later, when the nursing stops eating your sandwiches, your pizza, your crust, you see your ruined silhouette and you think the life that's standing in front of you as a toddler asking for pizza too, or apples or chocolate. You see life and you can't care to count the calories because the toddlers are thin and running and jumping and they're part of you. So you are too. So you're stuck sitting or standing around in roundness, your face, your cheeks, your belly, your arms, your legs, even they all have this look that before you would have run away and now you just can't care. Because once roundness meant you made something only you could love as much as love can love. And so you see you in the mirror and you're not quite sure how you'll ever stop being so goddamn fat. Because when you look away from you to your loves, you can't remember you.
I swear, at this juncture in my life, I think I get happier every time I see my students read more so than I read my own work. So thank you, Kendall, for this wonderful opportunity to be at this institution now for 8 years, sharing with young people and older people and all of us people trying to figure it out. I'm going to read an excerpt from a memoir I've been working on about the 20 or so years that I worked in newsrooms around this country. And because this person is in the zeitgeist because of a film that's making hundreds of millions of dollars, I thought I would read this excerpt. So, start my time. Oh, and also I'll say I'm going to read from the beginning of my journey in creative writing, because somebody who was a part of it, part of this was happening since we were infants is in the room. Literally, we were babies together. Our parents raised us together. And she's one of my best friends in the world. So, and then I'll preview some things that are gonna come because I get to read again on Tuesday. All right, starting my clock. I wouldn't help it even if I could. The Thursday afternoon, Michael Jackson died. I sat on a chartered bus with other artists handpicked by Toy Derricott and Cornelius Eady, the Cave Canem Foundation's founders. We were headed from our University of Pittsburgh Greensburg dorms to the big city nearby with only 2 days remaining in our week-long retreat, which had been a temporary panacea for my then undiagnosed anxiety and depressive disorders. From the moment I'd awakened before dawn to write, as I do almost daily, to this late afternoon ride through the Laurel Highlands' breathtaking landscape, something had felt askew. Certainly, it was no surprise that I was unhappy with the poem I'd submitted for the day's workshop, set to be led by Edie once we arrived in the city of Asylum, a haven for persecuted artists on Pittsburgh's near North Side. Each day of the summer retreat at Cave Canem, affectionately CC among fellows, we were expected to craft new lines, and I rarely appreciate my first draft's potential. Anticipating a set of disquieting, if empathetic, critiques, I shifted in my window seat, eyes darting between email at the Washington Post, where I worked as a copy editor, and all the verdancy this June day offered to lift my ambivalent spirit. Then flashing on my cell screen, I saw it. The embattled king of pop was being rushed to the hospital. He wasn't responsive, and it didn't look good. We'd meet in all hands on deck newsroom to prepare to report the worst. Around me, the din of fellow poets' banter continued unchecked, so I didn't say a word. I didn't want to kill the good vibes that so often eluded me. Maybe it was a hoax. The rumor mill had killed Whitney Houston prematurely only a few years before. Since I wasn't at the Post to sift between fact and Hollywood embellishment, I let out a long sigh, slipped my phone in my pocket, and made small talk with my artistic kin. During workshop, Edie and my CC colleagues were kinder than I deserved about a poem declaiming my disdain for a popular shorthand for the Black phallus. But all I could hear in my head was the soundtrack of my childhood, every MJ masterpiece I knew by heart. Are you okay? It wasn't that bad, one fellow who knew of my propensity for worry and melancholy said as we left the eatery where we chatted about our group's works. What's really going on? I saw you peeking at your phone. Is something wrong at work? I demurred and dismissed her concern. I didn't want the terrifying newsroom updates I'd been reading, which would go live across the globe by dinner time, to be true. Subconsciously, as we made the short journey to a nearby museum where Edie and other retreat faculty would read new poems, I began humming the chorus of my favorite Michael Jackson song, a tender ballad sculpted from a timeless Stevie Wonder poem. I can't help it. If I wanted to, I wouldn't help it. Even if I could, can't help it. If I wanted to, I wouldn't help it. No. No one thought it strange. Song like breath comes easy. After years of therapy, I understand that singing is my Kevlar vest, an antidote for moments like this one, where I'd rather climb in bed, curl fetal, and succumb to the ever-looming gloom and dread. Even when I decided it shouldn't outshine a piece's conceit and intellectual health, song suffuses every piece I would craft. As I hum, the part of my neurodivergent brain that atomizes song, imagery, juxtaposition, anaphora, and irony into poetry began to remix this B-side gem from his 1979 hit solo debut, Off the Wall, into 20 lines that would spill out of me like a torrential rain, like tears in one pre-dawn sitting the next morning. After hours of dancing and crying to every hit from every Jackson 5 and Michael Jackson album, we could cobble into a looping proto-streaming era playlist. Then, as Edie stepped up to share poems about the sculptural hat Aretha Franklin donned at President Barack Obama's historic inauguration and other Black American wonders, everyone's phones began to light up, and the litany of gasping, soaking, and muffled weeping ensued. Before the next faculty member's reading, what I refused to acknowledge all day was announced. Our king was dead. Thus, I Can't Help It was born. As the first poem in my Beldic's Roman Sacrilegion, it aims to honor MJ's well-documented daddy issues and my own. Like him, I owe my beloved father and mother and the Southern Black Baptist church doctrine they reared me to revere, not only for my unwavering faith in my capacity to accomplish any goal I set, but also for my struggle with depression and anxiety, exacerbated by the dangerous brew of ableism, chauvinism, and homophobia that went unquestioned in my formative years. The poem confesses my tendency to fall into the arms of other men scarred by Christianity and ends with a prediction that I'll die thrashing, telling anybody all my secrets. Mid-book, Legion, human immunodeficiency virus, inspired by the titular graveyard wanderer Jesus allegedly exorcised, cements this elegiac thesis. Even as a small child who'd not yet learned about the vast spectrum of mental illnesses, I felt unsettled by the pathologies Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the latter dubbed the beloved physician by the Apostle Paul in his letter to the Colossians, mapped onto this man's narrative, the implicit lack of empathy for and banishment of the so-called demon-possessed and others that only Jesus' holy touch healed. As Sacrilegion was going through its final edits in the months after MJ's passing, and as decrees from management to hyperlink every book mentioned in a story to its Amazon sales page foreshadowed that Jeff Bezos soon would be our benevolent overlord, I lost 3 friends in a few months' succession to complications of the virus that causes AIDS. And I witnessed all but those of us closest to them disappear as they became untouchable distractions from our capitalist pursuit of Black excellence in the DMV's Chocolate City and Atlanta, the city of Southern charm too busy to hate. Legion's story then seemed the perfect vehicle for a new song for MJ and my dearly beloved. I opened a villanelle that felt too saccharine to live on the page alone and began to surround it with a body of language I gathered in hours-long fever dream and him and her, you and him and her and you and him and her. The poem's never-ending refrain. I had to literally implicate you in anybody I could divine. Breathless, that villanelle now literally gutting it, I opened a file with a failed Petrarchan sonnet's closing sestet. Thus, nothing's ever dead in a graveyard seemed the ideal opening for Legion, a poem that, like my friend's memory, aims to haunt us forevermore. I talk too much, I confess, as I can't help it in Sacrilegion again. And those remain the truest words to capture how my physical disabilities and neurodivergence galvanize my art, rooted as much in my journalistic impulse to tell it straight but slant, often repel those who can't stand to look in the sublime mirror that my wondrously complex embodiment offers. I rise every morning, especially now as I add post-long COVID, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and brain fog into the mix with my other special gifts, to exercise every morsel of shame that could so easily beset and silence me if I don't. It's been 57 years since patient 0, Robert Rayford, a 16-year-old Black victim of sexual abuse and possibly trafficking, died in a St. Louis University Research Hospital to what we now call AIDS, which still disproportionately kills Black women, men, and children. Yet, just as we have begun disentangling ourselves from the stigma, we are allowing in an antediluvian yin for more green in the clutch palms of the men who don't need another thin dime trump our sense of human decency and empathy. May this work be a beacon that inspires others to join us in raising the world's love quotients with our unapologetic truths. Okay, I can't help it. I talk too much. I cannot tell a liar from a preacher, so I tell you what you want. I'm saved and sick of this world, safe in God's arms. God, give me this world in an honest man's arms. An ego is hard to stroke or easy if you know how to quiet it. Let a man feel his burn in your throat. I talk too much. I'm sorry I'm not sorry enough. I'll dance all over you, oh liar, preacher, daddy. Oh, your tongue lashing is never hard or fast enough. When you lie still, stroking your chalice, the quiet makes me rich. I am a lone dandelion in a field. Come, blow me to bits. Still, you'll die this way, saved by the lies that burn like the ice water and alcohol mama sits me in to break the fevers silence has brought. And I'll die thrashing, telling anybody all my secrets. So I've still been writing poems all these years later, and I thought I would read one more from Sacrilegion and then a new piece. So this is for Twyla. Tuesday. My grandmother towers in the rocking chair like one of the live oaks in her front yard. Toned calves and freckled face define time's best efforts to dry rot her. She lifts me from her lap as we finish perfecting the vowel sounds in teacher and orange. I'll wow Miss Paramore tomorrow with my elocution. You speak so well, she'll say, as she has each day this term, and again, I won't feel her words backhanded saying. I've been bored with phonics for months, thanks to this retiree too stubborn to fade quietly into a memory as other self-respecting teachers have. It's Tuesday, we shout, mocking her friend, Miss Kiss, recently felled by senility and snuff. I bolt up the concrete slabs and miss Ma Mary's labored rise, her foot not quite swift enough to best the top step, the wafting of collards and just right cornbread clouding her better judgment. It only takes a Lord have mercy for me to look back and see her act her age. I sprawl, arms wide as I can stretch them, awaiting the embrace of 7 decades of balancing acts going kaput on the linoleum. We laugh until breathless, squirm our way to our feet hand in hand. Oh, for the days when my arms were enough to hold her up before her mind began erasing her mind and her sense of humor. I watch her now, slumped in a wheelchair at the dinner table, her home away from her hospital bed, hip and femur tender from falls on Tuesdays I wasn't there to break them. Mumbling an ancient tongue she's recalled, answering a voice in the chasm she keeps her cataracts fixed on. She lifts her right hand, her offering, a sliver of the tablecloth. Her third sacrifice this week. Stop, baby, I chide, grabbing her hand, grinning. It's only Tuesday. Her face is as blank as Miss Paramore's chalkboard on days when I was left monitor. Who are you? She scowls. I stare back into the mirror that is her eyes and try not to slip. So my grandmother passed away a week before I found out that Sacrilegion would be published, and I always think that she and Whitney Houston had something to do with it. They both died within that period of time. So because you all were in a feminist class this spring that was so compelling to you all, I thought I would read a poem that I wrote in response to this line that I'd always been told by this very famous poet and scholar. And I will say it for the crowd because they may not get the reference in the first line, which has an E at the end of the word. So this is Annus Mirabilis, your silence will not protect you for 2020. Lord, have you never seen a double rainbow rise and set in your backyard? I just did only after running here when breathing anywhere else started killing the wheat in me. Here I gallop 10 miles like the Palomino we are, unafraid of hay fields, dank air after dark. Everywhere elsewise outside is death. I shut out the din of 55 buckshots ricocheting off sycamore limbs and stride this wind until the synapses of we unchain ourselves. Here, I am not hunted or hunter, need no consent not to speak. I will not answer calls. I will lie in these sleeves of grass, let garters heal my heels, coil my ankles, akimbo asin as they did all over Alkebuin. They neither tempt nor taunt like the ally on the Zoom after party line I shouldn't have joined last night. You look so sad, he jeered, his pale mouth stink puckering like the bum he wishes we'd deign to kiss. I stare blankly, no grin or grimace in sight. We owe you nothing. In these bricked and row houses, on this boundless land, paid in full with whip-smart bloodied resolve, we wrestle not with your feast for our famished imaginations. We so full, we get lost in this never-ending kaleidoscope, this color wheel we wield our way forever and ever. And Katrina, come on.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Whew. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that we gather tonight on the ancestral homelands of the Choctaw and Chickasaw peoples. This acknowledgement carries a particular meaning for me because I am a descendant of the Choctaw Nation. As I share these poems, I do so with gratitude for the generations of Indigenous people who cared for this land, sustained their culture, and carried their stories forward. I also wish to honor the memory of the enslaved African men, women, and children whose labor helped build this region and whose lives, creativity, resilience, and survival shaped the history and the culture of Mississippi. I am descended from those ancestors as well, and I carry their stories with me tonight. As a descendant of both Choctaw Nation and enslaved African Americans, I offer my respect to all those whose lives and histories are woven into this place. May we remember the land beneath us holds many stories of belonging, displacement, suffering, endurance, and hope. And may we approach those stories with humility, gratitude, and care. I would like to thank my thesis committee, Mary Miller, Dr. Kendall Dunkelberg, and especially Dr. L. Lamar Wilson. Your careful reading and close attention has helped make this a stronger work. Thanks for challenging me to go deeper. I also am grateful to my classmates whose insights rest between the lines of these pages. I am indebted to the many poets whose language empowered me to create my own. To my family, especially my husband, my children, my grandchildren, my brothers, my sisters, and my grandparents. You inspire me to write bravely. So this collection is called Jim Crow, A Raven Singing. And when I was talking about this collection with the committee, it was originally called 1968 because I am using words that came into common usage in 1968. So I think we've now agreed on 1968, Jane Crow, A Raven Singing. But we'll see what happens when we actually get to the date. So the first poem is 1968. When I was born, my world cracked open to reveal a new language. New words that cut my teeth in ridges. Words handcuffed my wrists, bound my hands, dropped me to my knees. These words were hatched in January, cut their eye teeth in Memphis in April, tattooed themselves onto my tongue when I dropped from the womb of December. These words stacked side by side built a prison wall. My mother packed them in my lunchbox. I devoured them between 2 slices of Wonder Bread. Do not tell me that racism does not exist. It told me bedtime stories, collapsed around me like Humpty Dumpty. Sometimes I wake dreaming of the child I was, still tumbling. So the poems that I wrote the poems, and then once the collection was done, thanks to feminist poetry reading, I discovered that Sonia Sanchez's haiku was an attempt to reconstruct language. And I said, well, I have to do that with my book. I have to rewrite Yeah, there you are. I'm looking at Professor Whitehead now saying, this is your fault. Anyway. When I said, I have to redo the definitions because I can't use colonial definitions for this book of poetry. And Lamar helped me with the quote, and he's probably gonna have to help me with it again. Audre Lorde said, you cannot deconstruct the master's house using the master's tools. Therefore, we cannot use the master's definitions to write a book of poetry about deconstructing language. So these are new definitions written in haiku. Hate speech. Hot, violent words burn through my body years after they're said. And the poem is Sand. A grain of sand tumbles in your mind under the tide. You swallow it and turn it over and over. Some clamp down on insults like oysters, settling in the surf, sinking under waves. Then there are some who swallow large icebergs of anger until it changes them into specters of who they were. Foam is all that remains of what was hard, cold, and impassable. Hate speech roars in the back of my mind, like an oyster who shuts its shell on a grain of sand. I will take what you say and turn it over and over until it becomes a pearl that hangs from my neck. The next word is delegitimize. And here's the haiku. His paper crown sags low as he struts across the lawn, teeth bared and bare-assed. Delegitimize US. People will not move against institutions of power until the legitimizing authority has been stripped away. And we should be forewarned, it is a tricky job and often can backfire delegitimizing us. From C. Davidson and A. Cockburn and R. Blackburn, Student Power 349. This poem is in conversation with Nikki Giovanni's poems, No Name #3. The Black Revolution passed us. Bye, Negroes. Donald Trump did not invite you to Mar-a-Lago. Project 2025 replaces Project Runway. Nazi boots march across the White House lawn. They say history means erasure. He bombs Caribbean fishermen and calls them drug dealers. Bomb smoke over Colombia labels people as criminals. I think of the part of me that is indigenous Colombian. My ancestors walked north before this place was called the US because they are connected to this land by land. The only thing that connects a colonizer to this country is greed. Goodbye, Civil Rights Act. When they say goodbye DEI, they mean bleach USA. National Guard troops march in DC, Chicago, Los Angeles. Anywhere there are brown and Black bodies, they march. You say this is not our fight? Whose fight is it? They took money from our hospitals, our schools, our roads. Whose fight is it? Don't you cry when police kill Black bodies? How many times did someone you know go to jail for no reason? How many times have you been pulled over? How many flips did your stomach make as you gripped the steering wheel? Almost 60,000 Black men are banging tin cups against bars, and this is not our fight? Our deaths autoplay online, 1 million views before noon. Yesterday is too late for most of us, and tomorrow is not soon enough. The Black Revolution passed us by. This is our fight. A president who stands against us should not stand. This one is Butt Naked. buck worn down by time, chains rest between the lines, skin remembers. And this one makes a picture of a man. Butt naked, derived from buck naked, named after men enslaved to the auction block, robbed of dignity, advertised as big black buck, as if we were deer or cattle or goats, paid for by the pound of flesh, name stolen, replaced by mandingo, as if a black man should be treated like a wild dog. Thieves, they are called, because you cannot own a human soul. Thieves would say, let's break that buck, beat him with a whip, paddle, shove it up his ass, take away all humanity, buck naked. The sound itself rapes the ear. Butt naked is soft, fleshy, a lie that covers the lash. It can almost make you forget its history. The next one is called Roach Clip. I wonder why that was 1968. I'm just kidding. Roach Clip. Alligator heads littered the coffee table disguised as hairpins. Roach Clip. I am the sharp metal teeth biting into your skin from the brain's limbic system. How hard can I clamp down without piercing the skin? There are so many ways to hold on, to breathe in that last remaining bit of green, to hold it delicate between your thumb and forefinger. Sometimes people lay alone like a roach left on the coffee table, waiting to be picked up and held within a clip. Then there are people who, like roaches, stay trapped in a glue box, feet stuck to the bottom, unaware that they stopped moving. This one is called Black on Black. A white man's slogan paints policy failure. Call us by our names. Play the skin. Black on black is weaponized when black hands crush black throats, as if white on white does not exist. History tallies differently depending on the color of the hand and the wound. White fingers move along the nape and crush a windpipe as adeptly as black fingers can. While white on white is filed under individual failing, black on black is considered a problem of the whole. Flay the skin down to the muscle. All flesh begins with blood. Was there a white on black declaration when James Earl Ray shot MLK? Bones snap underneath segregation's weight. On February 18, 1968, South Carolina police shot dead 3 black students protesting a segregated bowling alley. Policemen's fingers crook on the trigger. Black minds die in the flinch. A month later, Larry Payne, 16, gunned down by patrolman Leslie Dean Jones. Our hands waste away from the ringing. Police on black crimes still plague our communities, while language twists itself into absurd definitions, choking us as surely as the hands. Oh, this is one of my favorites, and to prove it, I have several haiku definitions. Mega. When they call it mega, crowds stroke and swat each other for a tiny piece. Lotto Wednesday, lines stream from the liquor store. Who eats tomorrow? Mega hyphen. Add to anything, America's prized prefix ready for fleecing. Rename Moby Dick, Mega Dick, Mega Whale, a different novel. Beyonce, Jay-Z, spin gold from silent black notes. Ancestors keep time. Empty shotgun homes. Katrina still hinders the sun through dust and silence. That's Hurricane Katrina, not me. Mega evolution. Those in power like adding mega to things, like mega treaties and mega troops. Rich people like buying mega yachts and mega mansions. Elon Musk has a mega SpaceX rocket, a mega billion-dollar coin flip of a project. To give regular people a taste, they sell us the mega million-dollar lottery. A man from Kentucky won the Mega Millions lottery last Tuesday. He'll likely be bankrupt by July. $2 million does not take you far. It won't even buy you a mega car. The Koenigsegg is $10 million. Politicians love to sell us mega. They have the Mega Act, Make Entertainment Great Again Act, that named the Kennedy Center after Trump. And they have the Mega Act, the Make American Elections Great Again Act, which excludes counting non-citizens on the census. It requires that we use our IDs to vote. Politicians sell mega measures with the idea of mega security. They are protecting us from the mega bogeyman behind the mega fence at the mega border. In the hands of a megalomaniacal president, security can look a lot like danger, especially when those hands clasp a megaton bomb. When you count deaths from a nuclear weapon, you would not say that 30 million people would die. You instead say there would be 30 megadeaths. Things don't sound so bad when you add mega to them. Let's try. Mega debt, mega endemic, mega protest, mega narcissism, mega racism, mega isolationism, mega despot. None of it is abstract to the people underneath it who are counted as mega anything at all. This next one is assault weapon. Blood on the sidewalk, children step around old stains toward first period. Two headlines. The Bronx Slayer, August 10, 1968. Rogers indicted as Bronx Slayer, suspect held without bail in July shooting of 3, New York Times. Do assault weapons kill people? People buy guns and fire, bullets hurt, people die screaming. It is easier to point and shoot, bullets chambered. In movie theaters, we cheer or scream or exclaim, callous. The assault weapon, extension of the body, grip high, stock pressed against bone, ready stance. We must know what we are shooting. Experiment. Another Richard Gatling. Robert L. Roberts killed 3 Puerto Ricans by spraying them with bullets. Afterward, he fled to his brother's home in North Carolina. 2. The Black Panther, May 28, 1968, for Eldridge Cleaver. Profs ask probe of Hutton death, Oakland Tribune. All weapons are assault weapons. Rat-a-tat-tat, someone's got a gat. South of 29th Street, west of Lake Merritt, 2 Panthers, ambush, barricades, 90 minutes of gunfire, naked hands raised, shot 12 times, Black boy dead, Black power lost, Black blood spilled, Black funeral procession miles long. Panthers chant, defend our homes, our lives against the racist, unjust attacks by police. Right on, carry a gun. What does police mean? Killer, brutalizer, homicidal agents, off the pigs. Afraid of being murdered like they tried to kill Huey, they succeeded with Martin. They killed little baby Hutton. Hilliard hid his name because he knew otherwise he would die. And the headlines filed him away in ink drying faster than blood. The paper folded and thrown, another archive of silence, a history written in bullets and margins. And a lot of that was directly out of the paper. This one is called Do-Rag. Silken street armor, hair guarded like Samson's strength, waves form underneath. Do-rag. Lacking the hair I want, I wrap my head in silk black cloth and eyes can only see my face. Often judged a criminal. I hoped to live at the top of a high tower, that my hair befitted a princess who flung her tresses from a window, an errant strand gracefully cusping the neck of every path it fell. Unfortunately, styling was a matter of whatever cancer allowed my mother's spindly fingers to twine along my jerky spine. She liked Shirley Temple curls, and shamefully so did I, but I could never hold the soft curl. I never had what was considered good hair. Now my hair is unbound as a part of me, clipped, coyly, and prone to all the same judgments and proclamations. I remember so much when I run my hair between my fingertips. Okay, so the next one is PCP. And I'm kind of going to explain this because sometimes people don't know what PCP is or they confuse it. But it is a drug that was really popular in the 70s. And it's not like your PCP care physician or anything like that. It's just the name of the drug. So here's the haiku for that. The sky is a door. My name won't stay in his mouth. He answers as God. Liquid gold, PCP, phencyclidine, AKA angel dust. From my corner of the room, one eye on the world, the other on whatever book held half my attention, I watched my father dip Sherman cigaritellos into small bottles of angel dust. I watched a lot and said little in those days. He called them Sherms, as if they were longtime friends. Everyone and everything had a nickname. He'd say, "Old pal Ovaltine, run to the store and pick me up some Sherms." At that, I dropped my book before he threatened to burn it for not being fast enough. 10-year-olds could buy cigarettes or cigaritellos with a note from mom or dad in 1979. So I ran with my note to the store around the block on the corner and picked up Sherms in the thin cardboard box with the red oval. I ran my long, thin brown body back to the house with this long, slim cigaritellos, gave them to Floyd, and he returned to my corner of the room and propped my book, just high enough to see everything. After the Shermans were dipped into the liquid gold, Floyd smoked and smoked and smoked. The house filled with a lazy fog that felt like thick as gasoline. My brother Yusef swore he saw ghosts in the smoke, but I never saw them, though I think I used to be smarter. I know I used to be steadier. My hands did not shake like they do now since I was 11. Floyd loved to smoke with his best friend, Billy Love. One day, Billy Love smoked Sherms and thought he was Superman. He jumped off a high roof and survived. Floyd said smoking Sherms makes you feel like a god. I am guessing it was that God feeling he had the day he hit his angel, Billy Love, on the back of the head with a rock and threw him in the river. Billy Love did not survive that. Next word is marginalize. Chairs stacked by the wall, DEI gone by morning, same men at the table. This is my last poem. Last winter. You have no people left to marginalize this winter. We have endured assault from you together, trudging over the ice of a bleaching gnarl, linking our arms, our minds, and our resolve. How will we survive another winter of you? For you have proven how you stomp orchids into the soil. You see little use for winter's vibrant bougainvillea that roots itself against your wall, undeterred, straight over to the other side. We can see how the oranges and reds break ice chunks into diamonds. The world is still warm because winter teaches us how to build fires. And a new day will bring spring, then summer. The ice will melt. We will swim in the rivers that connect us to the oceans. The desolation you tried to create will be gone because we chose not to stand still in winter's assault. We marched through until the ice was gone. Thank you so much.
Run away.
Apparently I have to answer questions. I have no justification. Corinne?
So I think we actually haven't discussed this. Because you're using the word terms from the 1960s, so amazing, really, it's just terrific. In your organizing, did you organize the collection alphabetically?
No.
So what did you?
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
When I was reading, I was thinking like, how would I, arrange it? So what was your organizing principle if you didn't do that?
Well, my organizing principle had to do with not wanting people to slit their wrists by the time they were done. So I started with introducing the subject, like starting with dictionary and providing a definition for dictionary, then saying this is a poem about 1968, bringing people into the year 1968. Then I went into sort of theoretical type of poetry. Then it went personal. Then I backed up into political, and then I wanted to end it with some sort of hope.
I, even in your choice of what you selected to read, I thought it was brilliant that you did, because after Butt Naked, you like immobilized, it just so much. And then to put the roach clip, it felt like, Macbeth, the porta scene after the murder, you needed that little break you gave us. We started talking about the roach clip after that too.
Yeah, it is kind of how you, or at least how I deal with hard stuff, is to try to balance and measure it out. And my family just has sort of a sick sense of humor to deal with hard things like that. I'm the person who tells stand up at a funeral. Lisa?
So I love reading these over the last year, and I don't think I've ever asked you what your research process was like. Was it, yeah, what was it like?
Well, I discovered the 1968 words quite by accident, just goofing off and doing what I was doing. But so it started off with me thinking about what must 1968 have been like for my parents and other African Americans living during the time, and mostly in Los Angeles and across the country. And so I did a lot of research on the historical context of 1968. And then I talked to my uncle, and I also started reading poets who were active in the time period, like Audre Lorde, Nikki Giovanni, Gwendolyn Brooks, Amiri Baraka, who factored heavily into a lot of my research. His poems reminded me a lot of my father, and what it was like for him as a Black man in 1968. That was something that I never truly understood. I always look at things through a feminist lens and a feminist context. So I've been reading Audre Lorde forever, and Nikki Giovanni is one of my favorites. If it's hard to say who your favorite feminist Black poet is, but Nikki Giovanni is right up there. So these are women that have integrated themselves into my life, into my being, but Black poets from that time, I hadn't really, for men, I hadn't really had anyone that struck me as an experience where I said, okay, this man I understand. This is a Black man I understand. And that was Mary Baraka. So I spent a lot of time reading their works and looking at history through their poetry. I think that's it. Anyway, I think I'm having a party, is that right?
Yeah, I think we're all gonna go to say to your hotel.
Yeah, my hotel, bring something because I've got nothing except a banana and a lot of microwave rice. Thank you all.
Thank you, Katerina and Lamar and Lisa and Tomia. And thank you all for coming, both here and online. And I hope to see you all tomorrow night.